The mighty knight Bolden is against 3 women warriors. He laughs at them for seeking an apprentice. It is one thing to seek a master, but to look for someone who will train under them is hilarious. He then moves and raises his big axe against them. But to everyone's surprise, Rian, one of the warriors, easily flicks him and sends him flying deep into the woods. The minions hang their mouths open in shock at how easily Bolden was taken out in a single strike. He is one of the continent's mightiest knights, and yet he was defeated by a girl. They all take a good look at the 3 women and finally recognize who they are. The first one is Rian, the Dragon Tribe's warlord and a Cataclysm class. The second one is the High Elf Milla, and the third one is the Dark Priest of the Vampire Clan, Cure. They are said to be the 3 mighty women who are the strongest in the world. The 3 girls are just chilling after the fight, which did not even manage to make them sweat. Their strength is truly inhuman, and Rian is said to be able to move mountains if she wanted to. Milla has the power to blast away soldiers with one spell, and Cure can annihilate enemies just by using her buffs. Together, the 3 could end nations and create a new world. In some regions, they are practically evil gods that were reborn. With their beauty and power, they could easily attain all that they desire in the world. So the big question is, why are they still seeking an apprentice? A knight gets his armor ripped while fighting Milla. He stands bare in front of the 3 girls, puzzled by why they are looking for a disciple. Before he can make more remarks, Rian kicks him in the face, hurling him far away. Milla is disgusted by the sight of him, mentioning that he should not pry into others' business. A few months earlier, Rian was lamenting how guys were just hopeless creatures. They had lousy stats and weak skills. They were essentially all talentless and weak. Cure pointed out that maybe they were just too strong for their own good. Milla chimed in that if she were to be with a man, he should be stronger than her, or at least her equal. Cure said that her friend must have wanted someone who could protect her, but that moment rarely ever came because she could protect herself most of the time. She wondered if the right man for her would ever come along. Did her dream guy even exist? Milla reminded her that if such a man were to exist, she must not dare steal him, since she could not stand being outdone. Rian agreed, saying that they should not settle for someone average. After months of looking, the girls finally had enough and decided that they would raise one fine man themselves to make sure they could have the perfect guy. With this, they could gain experience with men and would no longer feel intimidated. In addition, they would not have to travel to different parts of the world just to see if their ideal man existed. Cure agreed that it was an efficient plan, and with this plan, they started their journey to find a male apprentice they could raise and train. Back in the present, the 3 women almost sigh in unison while taking a rest from the blazing heat. After searching for many months, they still have not found what they are looking for and wonder where they should go next. Rian suggests that they explore the Luca kingdom for possibilities. However, Milla is against the idea, since the kingdom is notoriously known for being on the wanted list. Rian points out that this is the exact reason why there would be a chance of tough guys there. In that place, they can fight whoever they want to their heart's content. They then overhear that a famous school currently has a descendant of a hero enrolled. He is said to be the one who defeated the Demon Lord. Hearing this, the 3 realize that they can find a strong candidate there. They assume that the hero being enrolled in the academy would be a more agreeable apprentice for them. The school would be home to potential disciples, and they could also take the hero as their disciple. After deciding, they prepare to travel to the academy. Rian leads the way, stating that she is acquainted with the academy's headmaster and adding that this quest really excites her. Later, the 3 arrive at Baskervia City. The city is said to be founded to oversee the world's largest mana pool, which is under the Adventurers Guild's rule. It is also hailed as the Holy Land of Adventurers, which is home to the world's finest academy for heroic training. The city bursts with life and festivities. Since it is the Harvest Festival, the merchants are all welcoming and give out drinks to the adventurers. A merchant selling high-quality weapons is glad to welcome a customer. Someone then announces that the class ceremony is starting at the arena and invites his friends to go now so they will not miss it. In the background, a vase falls and breaks. From the broken ceramic, a looming danger rises. In the Almeria Academy, Headmaster Sally is annoyed that the 3 troublemakers have arrived at the academy. She feels like doom has found her, especially after hearing that the trio are relaxing and eating snacks in her room. She panics and tells her assistant to do something and get rid of the troublemakers. She is already occupied with festival security, with the men being unreachable. The assistant then informs her that Rian threatened to create havoc if they continue to make them wait. Sally grits her teeth in annoyance, saying that she needs a calming herb and a stomach healing spell first before going in to face the 3 girls. She stresses that she needs mental preparation before meeting the trio. While having a breakdown, a boy tries to approach her, but she is too busy thinking about the unwanted guests. She tells him that his expulsion still stands and that he had better accept it and find a new path outside adventuring that would suit him better. She then hurries to her room begrudgingly, mumbling to herself about the chaos the girls are causing. The boy runs after her, but she ignores him to deal with her main problem. She stands horrified before her office, hoping that the 3 girls have already left. It would be better if this were all a nightmare that she needed to wake up from. However, when she opens the door, the 3 ladies are still there, cozying themselves up. Mila remarks that she is late and that they have grown bored waiting for her. Sally begrudgingly asks why they are still in her office. Rion comments that she looks so unenthusiastic toward them and reminds her that she owes them big. Sally rants that she spent more time cleaning their messes when they did quests for the guild, so she owes them nothing. Trying to get them out of the city as soon as possible, she asks what their business there is. Since it is enrollment season, she wants prospective students to come to their school with no problems at all. She is busy enough just staying around and babysitting them. Rion flashes a mischievous smile at her and states that she brought them the hero. The headmaster seems confused by her request, so Mila further explains that they will lend a hand in training the hero. In this way, he will be stronger and more formidable. Sally doubts that they only want to help, knowing all too well that they only bring trouble. Cure gives her another cutesy smile and states that they just want the hero to reach his full potential. Sally lets out a fake smile, thinking that they must be up to no good again, just like they always are. After this, she will be left cleaning up their mess once more. They must be scheming something. She is really sure of that. As the headmaster, she must do whatever it takes to save the hero from their bad influence and twisted plans. If they ever get a hold of the hero, she is sure that the world will finally meet its doom. Rion notices that she falls silent and doubts that she is planning to hide the hero from them. Cure volunteers to interrogate the poor headmaster. Mila reminds her that they need the headmaster on their good side. Even though she is still in the room, the trio talks about how they are going to deal with her. Just then, they hear a powerful explosion outside the academy. The 4 of them are suddenly alert because of the blast. In the town, the people are in shock after seeing something horrifying. Trembling, the boy from earlier tries to scoot farther away from the creature. A gigantic poison hydra is standing in the middle of the town and wreaking havoc throughout the city. The citizens are frozen in fear, and others try to run to safety. The hydra lets out a shrieking sound, adding to the terror that everyone is already feeling. Sally is horrified to see a poison hydra rampaging in the city. They would need a Class A adventurer party to subjugate that huge monster. This is the first time that she has seen that hideous kind of monster. It looks way above level 9 danger. She panics, since this means that an army would also be required to take action against the monster. Meanwhile, the 3 girls are all worried that their future husband candidates might be in grave danger, so they all respond to the emergency and make their way to the town. Meanwhile, Sally can only stand back as the 3 girls leave a huge hole in her office. In the town, the people are frantically running away from the humongous hydra. The boy suddenly slips and falls, causing the monster to almost catch up to him. As he is about to be devoured, Mila and the others arrive. She uses her ice magic to trap the tentacle of the hydra with her ice. After Mila holds the creature in place, Rion leaps and gathers fire in her hands and hurls it toward the monster's direction. The explosion almost blasts the citizens. Rion then suggests that Mila should push her ice spell harder, since its heads are still moving. Mila tries once more but notices that the hydra's defense magic and regeneration are quite strong and high. The monster's skin is quite thick, so she can only freeze the surface. At this rate, it will be disadvantageous for them to use her ice magic. Frustrated, Rion realizes that this will not be an easy fight, since the monster can quickly heal itself. Mila reminds her to calm down and watch out for the poison attacks of the monster. Although they can withstand it as S-rankers, it will still have an effect on them. Meanwhile, Cure is still looking for an opportunity to attack and has no luck finding one yet. Having no other move left, Mila shoots a fireball at Cure, pushing her inside the monster. Cure declares that the best way to deal with Hydra-type monsters is torturing them up close. She unleashes her power and starts harassing the monster. Mila tells her to keep attacking, since it looks like it is working. Meanwhile, back in the academy, Sally is frantically running through the hallway. She has to respond to the situation as well. Judging the fight so far, it seems like the trio are having a hard time fighting the Hydra, since usually one of them could handle a monster alone. Right now, it is her duty to lead the front line and make sure that there are little to no casualties. Just then, her assistant appears beside her, reporting that they have a serious problem. She states that she is on it, and that she must gather all the instructors to prepare to fight. However, The man tells her that it is a different incident. He confirms that a massive monster migration is moving their way near the Baskervia region. According to the report, there are around 4,000 of them, and their threat level is yet to be known. Shaken, Sally must deal with this monster stampede as well. Looking outside, an army of monsters is heading their way. She cannot help but be terrified. They had a peaceful morning earlier, and there were no signs of any monster attack. Now, she has to deal with 2 monster calamities at once. Pressed for time, she decides to leave the Hydra monster to the trio and commands him to gather all B-class and above adventurers to head to the Baskervia region. She grits her teeth in tension. The Harvest Festival should be amusing, but now it is not. Back on the battlefield, the trio are still fighting the Hydra. The creature uses its tentacles against them, each one using a different basic element. Mila showcases her mage power and hurls her element bullet magic at the creature, trying to blast it away. Cure continues to attack while embedded inside the monster. As the creature wriggles in pain, Rion strikes the monster with her fire. Suddenly, the Hydra's core pops out from its body. It comes out from an unusual spot in its body, so they are quite surprised by it. Mila contemplates that Rion cannot move away from the neck of the creature yet, and that Cure will be endangered if she tries to escape as well, since the poison will kill her. Even if they still have stamina, it will be difficult for them to find the missing core and fight its body at the same time. So, while holding it down, they try to attack all at once to finally finish the battle. However, to their surprise, a huge magic circle appears over the Hydra. Cure is surprised to see the massive area of debuff that the monster has activated. Because of this, the other adventurers temporarily lose their strength and power. Rion is also shocked that the poison Hydra has the ability to debuff. They are definitely at a disadvantage as the adventurers start to lose sanity. Mila starts to feel dread as well, but just then, another adventurer appears and leaps toward the monster. Based on her movements, she must be a reinforcement sent by Sally to help them. While the Hydra continues to wreak havoc and destroy everything in its path, the adventurer rushes to stop it and rescue the citizens from their imminent death. She uses her amazing twin sword skills and slashes the debris, effectively saving the people from being crushed. However, she does not notice that the Hydra's tentacles are coming her way. The monster wraps her in its tentacles, gripping tightly around her body. The people shout for their hero, panicking as they see her being overpowered. Seeing this, the 3 girls are utterly shocked. They just learned that the hero is a girl named Elysia and not the man they were expecting. Looking past this fact, they can tell that her strength is insane for a human her age. In addition, Mila can guess that she is equipped with top-tier gear engraved with the royal crest. Cure finds this hilarious, to think that the hero was sent as a reinforcement. As the debuff spell continues to plague them, the 3 S-rankers slowly lose their strength. If this continues, they will surely be defeated. Cure looks down at the townsfolk to check the casualties. They then see someone trying his best to walk toward the monster while dragging his sword. With his remaining strength, he raises his weapon and rushes toward the Hydra. Rion is impressed that the boy is courageous enough to face their enemy. However, she realizes that he has no business putting himself in danger. He is a human and has no skill or stats at all. What he is doing is complete foolishness. They find him unbelievable, and they are sure that he will likely perish on the battlefield at this rate. With no other choice, Rion steps in and tells the other 2 to cover for her while she protects the boy with everything she has. Meanwhile, the boy is determined to break the monster's core and sacrifice himself if it means helping save the innocent people in his town. The Hydra's tentacles move against him. He desperately tries to evade the strikes, but he clumsily stumbles and falls to the ground. He is about to be taken down when Mila freezes the tentacles to protect him. Meanwhile, Rion moves to stop the Hydra from further targeting him, commanding the boy to stand down and not move. But the core is just within his reach, and if he just endures it, he can definitely break it. His body starts to tremble and give up from the pain. Because of this, he throws up, his body convulsing from the injuries he sustained. Meanwhile, the Elysia is still trapped by the tentacles. Her power is slowly draining because of the debuff spell, and she cannot do anything but watch the boy push himself to help everyone in his own way. He finally manages to reach the Hydra's core, but unbeknownst to him, a tentacle is behind him, ready to strike. Not caring anymore, he does not dodge and instead slashes the core with his sword. After successfully breaking the core, the Hydra slowly disintegrates, freeing Elysia from being captured. With this, the Hydra perishes and is finally defeated. The adventurers are finally freed from the mental torment of the Hydra. After checking on them, Rion rushes toward the injured boy and tells Cure that they should heal him immediately. Luckily, the poison has not spread yet, and since he is still alive, she can easily restore his health. While being healed, the boy asks if the hero is safe. This makes Rion look back and notice that the hero is walking in their direction, limping. The boy smiles upon seeing her, knowing that she is well and alive. He is glad that he made it in time. Alicia kneels before them, apologizing for her shortcomings as their supposed savior. They continue to heal the boy, touched that he went so far just to save the hero. He is not even an attendant of the hero, yet he jumped into the situation and sacrificed his life. The trio cannot help but feel protective of the boy. They feel like they want to raise the kid and shape him as their disciple. Different voices fill the room, and after the dark tunnel, the boy finally regains consciousness. He looks around the room and sees Rion beside him, telling him how worried she was that he was not waking up. Realizing that she has not introduced herself yet, she stands up and tells him her name. He is shocked to know that she is a dragonkin and an S-rank adventurer. To prove her identity, she hands him her status plate, and the boy is stunned by what he reads. Since she is a member of the dragon clan, she can be considered the ultimate race. She is one of the world's 3 strongest species and is said to excel most in close combat. In addition to this, she is one of the only 9 S-class adventurers in the world. Considering all of this, he wonders why someone so amazing like her would bother saving someone like him. Suddenly, he remembers the attack on their town and starts to wonder. She calms him down, saying that she will fill him in on the details. She tells the boy that they bought the house to serve as their base in Baskervia. Since there were so many wounded people, the church became overcrowded, so they needed another place to accommodate the injured. Seeing the worry on his face, she reassures him that there were no casualties in the town where the Hydra rampaged. They were fortunate because the area was still under construction, so there were only a small number of civilians inside at the time. She explains that the number of injured people was actually caused by another incident. In another part of Baskervia, a monster stampede occurred where thousands of monsters went berserk all at once. The adventurers who responded to that crisis were injured during the battle and were later brought back to the church to receive treatment. It has already been a day since both incidents happened, and the town is steadily returning to normal. Hearing this, the boy visibly relaxes. Rion remarks that it is because of him that they were able to minimize the damage more than expected. Even though he acted out of desperation, he managed to pull off something incredible, and she tells him that he should be proud of himself. Tears begin to flow from his eyes. Hearing such kind and sincere words from her makes him overwhelmed with emotion. Rion takes this opportunity to offer him a place as her apprentice. Since he no longer has anywhere to go after being expelled, she tells him that he can stay with her, and that she will personally train him as her disciple. The boy is shocked by this proposal, especially since he was expelled for having all 0 stats. Doubting whether everything happening is real, he starts to think that he might have died during the Hydra attack and that this is merely a long dream before passing into the afterlife. Just then, the door suddenly bursts open, revealing Mila and Cure, who both immediately accuse Rion of taking unfair advantage of the situation. Mila introduces herself to the boy and confidently states that she can help him become far stronger by training him to become the greatest mage. Cure also steps forward, inserting herself into the conversation and claiming that he would learn far better combat techniques under her guidance since she comes from the vampire clan. The boy becomes utterly confused by what is happening as the 3 women begin arguing loudly over him, each wanting to claim him as their own apprentice. As their voices rise and the situation starts to spiral out of control, the boy hurriedly places himself between them, afraid that they might cause an even bigger disaster than the Hydra itself. Gathering his courage, he suggests that he become everyone's apprentice instead. This proposal causes the 3 to stop and seriously consider the idea. After carefully weighing the possible outcomes, they realize that this solution would be the fairest for all of them, and they eventually agree. With that decision, he officially becomes their apprentice. Even though he still feels as if he is trapped inside a dream, he forces himself to calm down and bows deeply before his masters. He then introduces himself as Cross, a 14-year-old human with no classification or job, but promises that he will do his very best. Unbeknownst to him, unless he becomes strong enough to defeat all 3 of his masters, he will not even have the freedom to fall in love. Alone with his thoughts, Cross reflects that after leaving the orphanage where he grew up and being expelled from the academy, he has finally found a new purpose in life. Although the 3 women almost tore each other apart arguing over who would train him first, they all seem reasonable in their own way and genuinely kind at heart. Because of this, he resolves to train as if his life depends on it. He hypes himself up internally, refusing to let his nerves get the better of him before the training even begins. Later, in the estate's garden, Cross meets up with Rion and Cure, The Dragonkin remarks that the mansion is ridiculously grand just to be used as a training ground. Kira agrees, adding that they managed to acquire it on short notice, which only makes it even more impressive. Cross is left stunned by how easily they were able to secure an entire mansion solely for training purposes. Rian then realizes that Kira should not even be there, since they all agreed that Rian would be the first to train Cross. The vampire simply smiles and replies that she is only there to make sure Rian does not do anything indecent with the boy. After their playful banter, Rian shifts her attention back to Cross and formally declares that his training will now officially begin. She tells him that he had better show her everything he has, adding that she could always boost herself using the Dragon God clan's secret arts. If she did that, she might end up being chased out by the villagers, but she would simply wipe them all out if needed. Hearing this, Kira also chimes in, saying that she could activate the vampire clan's sealed artifact known as the Dark Chalice and release dark spirits into the area. These methods could potentially make Cross stronger, so they might as well try them. Cross forces out a nervous smile and asks if they are just joking. Instead of answering immediately, the girls stare at him blankly before bursting into laughter. Rian proceeds with the training without even clarifying whether she was joking or not. When the actual training begins, Cross quickly proves to be extremely weak and clumsy at sword fighting. Seeing his hesitant and awkward strikes, Rian guesses that he was often beaten and bullied by stronger adventurers back at the academy. This is hardly surprising, as his movements are stiff and shriveled with fear. Still, she reminds him that a person becomes what they believe themselves to be. If he believes he is weak, then weakness will define him. Before anything else, he must change his mindset, because fear has a way of seeping directly into the blade he holds. Cross suddenly remembers the constant bullying he endured at the academy. Many people looked down on him for being weak and told him that he was never deserving of being an adventurer. Even so, he trained hard alone, believing that if he could at least obtain a decent job class, he would gain at least one skill. When the day of class determination arrived, everyone was shocked and horrified to discover that Cross had neither a job class nor a single skill. This made him the weakest adventurer in the academy and an easy target for relentless bullying. Desperate, he begged the headmaster to overturn her decision to expel him. Although she pitied him, she told him bluntly that he was a lost cause. Training would not be effective for someone like him, and insisting on becoming an adventurer despite having zero stats would only lead to his death. She advised him to find another path in life, one that did not involve adventuring at all. Back in the present, Cross lets out a sigh, remembering how impossible it was for him to become an adventurer back then, even in the eyes of the headmaster. Rian tells him that he actually possesses the basic foundation of a warrior. However, his true strength is still locked away by fear and trauma. With that, Rian tosses her sword aside and shifts into a hand-to-hand combat stance. She tells him that to overcome his fear, he must first learn how to enjoy a proper, genuine duel. Cross doubts that fighting could ever be fun for him. Rian remarks that he already sacrificed himself once to defeat the Hydra, and that alone was a good starting point. Once he becomes accustomed to duels, he will learn how to fight anyone using everything he has. She then throws a sword toward him and tells him to come at her with all his strength, holding nothing back. Cross hesitates, worried because he is holding a real sword and afraid that he might accidentally hurt her. Rian reassures him that she can easily handle his attacks and tells Kira to lower her defensive magic slightly. She orders him to stop worrying about her safety, explaining that such hesitation will only hinder his training. If he wants to become a strong adventurer, he must harden his heart. To demonstrate her point, Rian calls over Mila, who is visibly annoyed at being disturbed while cleaning the mansion. Cross shouts out Rian's name in panic, completely worried for her safety. Kira calmly assures him that everything is fine. When the dust and smoke finally settle, Rian's figure emerges completely unharmed. Not a single scratch marks her body. She explains that nothing can break through her defenses, and that Cross only needs to focus on attacking his opponent. By doing so, he will sharpen his mind and become more decisive with his strikes. Encouraged, Cross begins swinging his sword at her. Rian urges him to keep attacking, to grip his sword firmly, and to let the fire within him guide his movements. Slowly, Cross starts to get the hang of it, and to his own surprise, he begins to enjoy the exchange of blows and parries. To further support him, Kira grants him a boost to his stamina and energy. He asks if it is alright to be fully restored. Rian tells him that he should simply enjoy the fight, as training is not meant to be miserable. She then hands him a bottle of water, urging him to hydrate and eat properly. Declaring that it is enough for the day, she tells him to rest well and return the next day fully energized. Later, Cross cleans himself in a ridiculously large bathroom. After soaking and washing up, he heads straight to the main hall, where a grand feast is already underway. He is stunned, as this is the first time in his life that he has ever seen such an extravagant spread of food. The three women welcome him warmly and urge him to eat to his heart's content, telling him that he earned it for doing well in his training. More importantly, the food will make him stronger and lift his spirits. As soon as Cross takes his first spoonful, tears well up in his eyes at how incredibly delicious it tastes. After some time, he finishes several plates of food. Mila then approaches him and tells him that it is now her turn to train him. She leads him to another room and bluntly orders him to take off his garments, leaving him utterly stunned. Cross is shocked by the order, but is told that he just has to be in underclothes and on his stomach. Feeling like it was too embarrassing of a process, he asked to know what exactly the elf was doing. His entire body tensed up and jerked as she suddenly began massaging his back with special potion to lessen his fatigue. Theoretically, the Jobless may not level up, but they can learn any skill from any class. One of the things they're trying to help him develop is the highest level of mana control, and is told that it's similar to how it is when she or Rion channel their mana. Deep inside, Mila was elated by the thought of massaging him every day, but on top of the boy developing affection, she started feeling odd as well. Ending the session flustered, she tells him to get a good amount of rest for tomorrow. Similarly, his heart can't take the idea of a beautiful woman massaging him regularly. He soon arrives at his room and plops down on the bed, absolutely exhausted, and decides to do as told by getting as much sleep as possible. While getting under the covers, a voice suddenly praised him for the day. He's stunned at first, and fails to react right away, when a couple of hands emerge to latch onto his body. Cure pulled him in, covering his mouth and apologizing for scaring him. Since he worked so hard on his first day, she's come to give him a reward. Saying it's necessary, she starts draining his mana. While writhing from the ability, he's told that mana only grows when it's completely depleted. She can drain him dry, but needs full body contact, so he just has to relax. Once his total mana increases, Mila's training will help awaken his skills even faster. The perks were so overwhelming that he worried about turning into a bum. The vampire suddenly felt herself getting dragged away. Rion appeared, after getting a bad feeling of what might happen. Told that they're mana draining, she argues that a fingertip touch fingertip is enough for someone like her. After all, sharing a bed like that is something meant for lovers. Called a prune who's much more conservative than expected, the warlord is filled with rage and embarrassment. Her angered screams shatter the room's windows. Meanwhile, Cross was still confused if training was supposed to be so sweet. They continued with combat practice the next day. Rion is surprised to hear that he expected grueling methods from S-class adventurers. However, equating harshness with strength is a common rookie mistake. Any mentor who ignores a disciple's strengths and limits is a third-rate human. Breaking through one's limits through hardship is also valid, and real power comes from steady effort. But he's still building his foundation and has no need to rush his growth. There's a reason they all agreed to mentor a jobless boy, so he just has to trust them. 3 days later, the training at the mansion was as intense and tiring as ever. With that said, Cross's sword fighting had improved significantly, and the two even seemed like they were enjoying the spar quite a bit. In the middle of it all, the boy's eyes opened in surprise. His body felt so light, and the hits didn't hurt as much as it used to. Reminded of his first massage with Mila, he starts feeling the flow of magic power in his body. What was going to happen if he swung his sword in sync with the surge? Trying it out, he grips the hilt and grit his teeth. With a loud scream, he swings at his master with all his might. She blocks it easily, of course, but both S-class adventurers are pleasantly surprised by the sudden move. Excited, they hurriedly tell him to show them his status plate. They take a look and see several new details. Cross shook with shock, unable to believe it. There was a skill on his plate, an unthinkable development for someone jobless. It's Slash, which boosts his sword's power by channeling mana into it. On top of that, the masters smirked as it was all going according to their plan. He's manifested 3 passive stat-boosting skills. Now, his normally 0 baseline stats have been increased, giving him an edge. They figured that he could earn such boosts from training, and might even get a couple combat skills. Even the best ability can't fix being an all-0, so they aimed for boosts to cover his shortcomings. It's not just in his head, he was actually stronger, and like an entirely different person now. His stats are a mere 5 and his bases are still at 0. Still, he bowed in gratitude, knowing it was only possible with their help. Hearing this, Rion gently pats his head. Getting 4 skills in one go is likely because he's been putting in the effort long before they met. The torn calluses on his palms are just a small proof of that. While they're amazing, he has to learn to give himself credit as well. Tears fell from the sincere acknowledgement. Since he's obtained his first combat skill, they'll focus on mastering it, but the only way for him to do that efficiently is bit by bit, through real battles. She says it's important to keep in mind, and suggests that they immediately try a real fight to get a handle on it. Although he was struggling to keep up, she was already promising to get a monster on his level. The cries of a boy, who's never even beaten a horned rabbit, are ignored. Mila chimed in, agreeing that slaying an actual monster is the confidence boost he needs. Still, he's only practiced swinging at someone not fighting back, and just got his skill. He places his trust in his masters, and believes that he can at least defeat a horned rabbit. Just then, Rion gets back from her quick gathering trip. To cross shock and disbelief, she retrieved a feisty serpent monster, which she considers perfect for a test swing. It was ridiculous, as the target is a categorized monster, with a rank 1 danger level. The boy tries to decline, arguing that he hasn't even beaten a weak enemy. Despite their promises not to be harsh, he was now forced to fight the snake that could eat him whole. Cross has no confidence in taking on a classified monster, but is told to trust in his master. For some reason, the boy suddenly grew queasy, and his consciousness began to fade. Seeing its chance, the snake rushed forward and wrapped itself around his tiny body. As he screams in pain, he's told that the monster confuses its prey with the countless eyes around its body. Constricted, there was not much he could do to fight back. In a desperate attempt to free himself, he bites one of the enemy's eyes. All the others blinked and closed as the pain spread through its length. Fortunately, this leaves Cross free to catch his breath, but not much, as he had to take the chance and strike. He swings at the other eyeballs, hoping to lessen them, but the monster easily spun around to dodge. None of his attacks hit, rendering his knowledge of the weak spot useless. What could he even do against such a powerful opponent? He tried to run away and gain some distance, but it quickly followed and started circling around him. It moved so fast, and it was only a matter of time before he lost focus again. Rion smiled as she watched him get the timing right. With one last pinch to bring him back to his senses, he gripped his weapon tight and used his slash skill, cutting across all of the snake's eyes in one go. It hissed in agony and soon fell lifeless on the ground. Meanwhile, the S-class adventurers praised their wonderful disciple. As he tried to grasp what he just did, Rion explained that finding the beast's weakness makes it really easy to beat. In other words, it's the perfect practice opponent for him to test his skills on. Cross smiled in triumph. Later in the castle, he excitedly recounted the events of the day and got prepared for his session with Mila as usual. He couldn't stop talking about his achievements and apologized after realizing, but is assured that he can talk as much as he wants. In fact, the elf has prepared a celebratory gift, which he'll drink before the massage. It's essentially medicinal liquor that will boost his mana and accelerate skill development. With a mixture of secret elven and human tonics, she encourages him to grow fast for her. The next day, he was back outside, swinging his blade endlessly as usual. Rion smiled while shouting a few lessons and reminders from nearby. It doesn't take too long for Cure to jump in with her mana transfer. They couldn't help but notice how much he's improved, likely due to his victory against the snake. A bit of overconfidence is much better than not having any at all, especially for someone who used to be bullied as a child. Apparently, a girl named Gazelle is the leader of the orphanage he was in, and is a prodigy. At the job ceremony, she got an Annihilation Warrior title and 10 skills on the spot. It's undeniably impressive, and she has the potential to be an A-ranker someday. Getting pushed around by someone like that was only natural, but given how he is now, he should grow up strong and confident. Told to spar with Rion, without holding back, he readily accepts, unlike before. The days passed and their seemingly unending routine continued. After a while, Cross is stunned to see his plate, which shows a bunch of skills he never even thought he could have. They thought it'd take longer, but his cleave skill even hit level 3 in just 10 days. Now, the next step is to set a goal that can motivate and fire him up. He blanks out for a moment, unable to think of anything short-term. It can be a monster he wants to beat, or a jerk he wants to crush. Rion even promises not to make fun of what he says. To their surprise, the boy says he wants to take the reinstatement exam to the academy. Cross knows that he must sound crazy, given how luxuriously he's living right now, but it's always been his dream to study properly at the Adventurer Academy. Rion is certain that there must be some reason for it. He thinks back to the time when his village was burning. 4 years ago, his hometown was attacked and razed by monsters. He almost died in an encounter with one, but was rescued by a single girl who appeared like the wind and saved them all. In that moment, he first set his eyes on the hero, Elijah. Since then, he's wanted to become an adventurer who can protect others like her. They doubted their ears at first, but it sounded like the young boy had a crush on the hero. He flusteredly denies it, as if forgetting that he threw himself at a hydra to save her. Kure then whispers to her Rion, wary of the tons of girls his age at the academy. She takes a look at the bashful boy, who takes it back and says it was rude of him to say it in the first place. Because of this, they're both surprised when the warlord allows it with a big smile on her face. If he only spars with them, he'll inevitably pick up bad habits, so going to school would be great. With that, he's given permission to take the reinstatement exam. Kure wants to protest, but is told to grant their disciple's modest little dream. Besides, Rion just thought of something really good. The vampire gets an idea of what she might be thinking. Now, the only thing left to do is train to learn a special skill. He's surprised by the unexpected plan, and is told that it'll be a secret weapon necessary for him to pass. 20 days later, they were back at the academy for the exam. Cross was nervous, but once he starts enjoying that, he'll qualify as a real adventurer. Certain he'll be okay, they promise to watch closely from the sidelines. Rion chuckles, knowing her little arrangement will make his test tougher than usual. In the application hall, the boy stood in front of the door, hyping himself up before entering. Inside, he's greeted by a massive crowd, whose screams made the arena tremble. Their mouths were open in shock, not expecting him to actually show up. Mocking follows, and they wonder if getting expelled fried his brain, which already belonged to a weak and pathetic boy without a job. Cross was astonished, thinking the exam is supposed to be a closed event. Just then, a familiar voice asked what in the world he was doing. Gizel stood before him, holding her weapon and brimming with power. Apparently, he challenged her for the test, just a month after being kicked out. He never did anything like that, meaning it was Rion, who handled all the paperwork. The two watched him from above. It's mean of her to not even tell him, but the adventurer's life is full of surprises. Since his opponent is his old bully, this is the perfect way to regain the pride he lost. Meanwhile, Gizel was seething and prepared to beat him so bad that he'll abandon his dreams completely. When they were children, Gizel mercilessly beat and mocked Cross, calling him a useless loser who'll never become a proper adventurer. Her cruel words rang in his mind, making him shake as the exam began. The crowd roars when the applicant and his opponent are called forth. Meanwhile, 3 women watched from a lounge above. While the adventurers argued about the boy they were raising, Sally couldn't care less and simply wanted to get home as soon as possible. The match begins with the referee's signal, and the prodigy immediately dashed in with a sword art skill. Trembling, Cross turtles up and hardens his body with his own skill. They make impact and the boy is sent flying across the stage. Watching him crash into the wall, most of the audience believe that it's already over, even wondering if the child died in one hit. It's only been a month since Gizel's job bestowal, but she was already reaching intermediate level. The headmaster can't fathom what the two were thinking when they made the boy fight such a person. Back at the arena, the referee spoke towards the smoke, asking Cross if he was okay. In an unexpected twist, he was getting up despite taking the prodigy's hit directly. She turned back, and everyone gasped in amazement. Asking what he thinks he's doing, she suggests that he must have gotten arrogant after developing a defensive skill. However, he won't be able to stand her enhanced and empowered swing forever. With another sword skill, she thrust her blade forward, but he easily dodges by moving to the side. She's surprised by the unexpected evasion, but it just continues, and he dodges a seemingly endless barrage of swings. Even he couldn't understand it. He wasn't that scared, and the last hit didn't even hurt as much as he expected it to. When she strikes again, he sees Rion's image, and how they sparred endlessly every day. Compared to her, Gizel's movements actually made him chuckle. Hearing this irks her, and prompts the prodigy to throw a wide but powerful slash. It pushes him far away, but despite this, his guard was unbroken and defended against it completely. It was even tighter than the first strike. Infuriated by him doing the same thing over and over again, she recklessly charged in. Cross remembers his lesson about continuously switching his agility on and off. With that in mind, he suddenly leapt forward to parry the opponent's raging blade. Gizel didn't expect a heavy offensive skill, especially from a jobless boy with 0 stats. Watching the intense battle unfold, they stared in awe as the prodigy was on the defensive against the puny boy. Even Sally was in disbelief, but the boy's masters just laughed. Gizel also calmed herself down and back away after dodging a few swings perfectly. Cross was already exhausted. Her skill was undeniable, and even if he lands a hit, it's nowhere near decisive. Days before the exam, Cross's masters told him about obtaining a special skill. Sensing his confusion, she explains that they'll be fusing multiple different abilities to create one powerful skill. Fortunately, she has one in mind, and it's perfect for someone like him. In fact, the stronger his enemy is, the harder it hits. Another weak and petty slash hits Giselle, but it's so pathetic that getting hit only serves to fuel her anger. Intent on tearing him apart, she uses a level 9 skill and charges forward. Like a raging boar, she unleashes multiple slashes. This was the perfect moment. Only those who dive straight into a lethal strike can seize victory. His mind must be steady, absent of the foe's killing intent, as this was a skill about courage. In short, it's tailor-made for a nut who would run straight at a hydra. Mana surged throughout Cross's body, melding and swirling together, eventually concentrating at one point in his body. Finally, he uses the lesser special skill, Cross Counter. The audience is awestruck with their mouths left wide open as the counter hits the prodigy perfectly. She fell to the ground, her armor broken and her body limp from the damage. The match was over. While Rion smiled proudly at her little disciple, the referee raised his hand toward the boy, declaring him the winner of the match. Confetti fell with his unexpected triumph, and he yelped in joy as the reality finally set in. With this, he was actually going to be allowed to return to school. Giselle propped herself up, still shaking and unable to believe that she lost. She demands to know what trick the jobless scrub pulled to make this happen, but her body was so damaged that she lost consciousness before he could even reply. The officials call for a healer. Later on, the masters congratulated their disciple, who was jumping in joy after what he just achieved. They asked to see his status plate, as people usually level up fast after such battles. He sees it first and exclaims in surprise upon confirming, then hands it over to the adventurers so they can look as well. The stats he received were in the double digits, and the skills all leveled up. They were both silenced by what they saw, not too sure what to make of it, but unable to confront the giddy boy. Somehow, his development felt a bit overblown, and it felt like something was amiss. Cross waves his masters goodbye, excited to head off to school. While running through the yard, he comes across Mila, who was just getting home from a long journey. However, just one look at him tells her that something was odd. Noting that he looked awfully giddy, she asks the others if something happened during their training. With this, the elf hears for the first time that he passed the reinstatement exam for the academy. She's well aware of how difficult it is, and that it should be impossible for a boy like him. As they want her opinion as well, they hand her a copy of Cross' status plate. After a few moments of reading through his information, the levels of boosts on his stats catches her eyes. Rion wants to hear her thoughts as she used to have another student, but notices the elf shaking with unmistakable anger. Cursing and screaming at them, Mila unleashes a raging torrent of flames, which nearly consumes the entire mansion in an instant. Molten lava filled the land as a result of her uncontrolled outburst. The other two curse her as well, questioning the reason for her actions. Their clothes were burned, along with everything else in the area. However, the elf couldn't care less, and accuses them of using something they weren't supposed to. She wouldn't have minded if Cross's growth was too slow, but using it so early will have negative effects. Seeing how seriously enraged she was, the two deny using any treasures or artifacts. In fact, his stats would be much higher if they did. Mila rejects the petty excuse and demands an explanation for their disciples of normal growth rate. The two agree that it really was strange, and she finally gets the idea that they're telling the truth. No matter how many times she looks, it's still pretty hard to believe. It should be impossible, even for a prodigy, as raising just 1 point usually takes a week. They're saddened by how slowly weak humans progress, but the more pressing matter is a jobless person getting so many bonuses in just 1 month. Honestly speaking, it was nothing short of an abnormal situation. At the Royal Academy of Adventurers, a professor proceeded with his lecture about innate skills that emerge later in life. While all the other students dozed off in boredom, Cross happily wrote notes on how special skills can be awakened by near-death situations. Regardless of combat ability, he wants to learn the basic foundations of magic in school. He eagerly filled his notebook, but couldn't shake the deadly glare coming from Giselle, who was shooting him a nasty look from a few rows away. He expected her to still be mad, but this was worse than ever. In the academy, the students are told to find a partner for a mock melee combat class. Cross calls to a few people, but they all turn away immediately, and some even ignore him completely. Sensing Giselle's presence nearby, it was obvious what was happening. Everyone was avoiding him because he made her mad, and they don't want to be involved. This defeats the purpose of coming to school, which he returned to spar with different people. Just then, he sees her walking through the halls and recognizes it as a chance. He called out, hoping to talk about what happened the other day, but she just glared at him, daring him to say another word. A few other students call him a fool, and urgently tell him to leave before provoking her. Still, he had to clear things out for the sake of his mission. Just then, a commanding voice asked what everyone was doing. Heads turned and mouths opened as an unmistakable figure entered their line of sight. Back in the mansion, Mila emerged from the storage room with an item in her hand. It's a high-end tool, used by merchants to reveal detailed information on anything. Now, equipped with this, they take another look at Cross's status plate. Troubled expressions covered their faces as they slowly moved across the boy's information. At the bottom area, a dark power covers the rest of his details. Something ominous was hiding something about him. Rian asks if it's a skill concealment, but it isn't something as simple as that, since even the high-grade item can't uncover it. Mila isn't sure yet, and it could actually be a glitch. Either way, the three agree that they shouldn't go around talking about it. They'll even keep it a secret from their student while they handle the analysis themselves. That said, Cure can't help but wonder if he'll be okay alone at the academy. There are hundreds of students and instructors there, and it wouldn't be surprising if someone suddenly notices his secret. The students made a path, as they saw someone they didn't expect to be there. On the other hand, Gizel smiled, unsurprised, but asked what she was doing in such a place. After all, the descendant of the hero, Lady Alicia, had no reason to be there. Cross stared, slack-jawed as he was suddenly face to face with his idol. To everyone's surprise, Alicia completely ignores Gizel and walks towards Cross. He's flustered by the sudden proximity, more so as she suddenly puts her face inches away from his. His heart nearly beat right out of his chest. She was really there, and he had no idea what to do about it. Tearing up from relief, she shares that she worried so much after not hearing from the adventurers. Everyone watched her take his hand and questioned how she even knew the jobless boy. Since they're standing out a bit too much, the hero suddenly swept the boy into her arms and dashed away, disappearing from the crowd in the blink of an eye. At only 16, Alicia reached the highest tier of swordsmanship and is the greatest hero in history. In her lineage, descendants attend the academy, hoping to find a partner to preserve their bloodline. Finally arriving at an area without people, Cross thanks the hero for saving him back there. In fact, she also saved him a long time ago, but he doubts that she remembers. He reveals that he wants to be just like her, but she argues that she's the one who's grateful. Seeing his confusion, she recalls the time back then. The three adventurers gathered around the boy, who went so far to save the hero. She desperately tried to help, but was told to leave him to them. Since she has to help with the monster stampede, they promised to let her know once he's safe. Believing them, she headed out to suppress the outbreak but never heard back from the three. She's been looking for him ever since, in hopes of expressing her gratitude for saving her. If there's anything he needs help with, she promises to do whatever she can. Flustered by all of that, he argues that she should thank the adventurers instead, but remembers that their presence in town is supposed to be top secret. He takes it back. Hearing her thank him is more than enough, but not for her. Seeing her expectantly look into his eyes, Cross urgently thinks of something to ask of her. He finally gets an idea. There's a girl from the orphanage he made really mad, and he doesn't know how to apologize. Since she's also a female adventurer, she might have some ideas he can try out. Alicia thinks about it seriously for a few beats, and seriously suggests gifting the person some delicious snacks. At times like this, she thinks it's best to pair the apology with some delectable sweets. He doesn't know what to choose, and she finds it hard to give a specific example. As such, she gets a brilliant idea and invites him to go out and buy some with her. The offer stuns him for a moment, but he soon screams in disbelief. He says he can't go with someone like her, but she misunderstands and thinks it's about her outfit. Without letting him respond, she tells him to wait for her in the plaza, while she changes clothes. Just like that, he has no choice but to head to the church plaza. His heart was beating fast, and he nearly jumped out when he heard her voice again. The hero was there, covered in an elegant cloak. It's a magic item that makes her unrecognizable unless she directly interacts with someone. That said, it doesn't work on her guards, so she has to be careful since she didn't tell anyone about today. In other words, what happens today is a secret between the two of them. While he's still completely red in the face and wondering if they were on a date, Alicia led the way forward. Cross calmed himself down for now, as he was getting ahead of himself. The two brightly walked through the streets of the town, carefully scanning each stall that offered sweets. They continued to explore, even getting a few snacks for themselves along the way. It was a costly but otherwise fun day that was filled with food and laughter. The best part was that Cross had an entire day to witness Alicia's beautiful smile. Given how many shops he seems to know, she asks if he goes out with people often. On the contrary, he doesn't have enough money to do that, and shares that it was actually his first time visiting most of the spots they went to. She had a great time too, just wandering around and eating whatever she wanted to. While she traveled to different towns often, it was strictly for training alone. Having a spare moment to walk around like they did was a luxury to her. Just like that, he knew her a bit better. Since she had so much fun, it didn't feel like she was thanking or apologizing to him enough. But their day was already more than he could ever hope for. Getting another idea, he says something since they already have the chance. Cross sheepishly admits that he'd love to hear some of her heroic stories, like the monsters she's fought, or what the rest of the world looks like. It isn't much to her, and she doesn't value them much, but it'd be like treasure to him. For now, she keeps it brief and starts with an adventure at the Beckoning Valley. The hero then goes on about her escapades, which often risked her life and safety. He only had great words for her, although she didn't really consider herself all that impressive. To stand up to her enemies despite her fear, she trains endlessly through day and night. After all, the only thing that won't betray her are the skills she built up herself. Her words stun him. On the other hand, she never expected someone to react that way to her boring little battles. She would actually argue that a level 0 who stood up to a Hydra is more amazing than she is. The sudden compliment flusters him as usual. As modest as ever, he says he didn't do anything, and that it all happened with everyone's help. She warmly sticks to her opinion, even adding that he looked pretty cool back then. When he was just about to pass out from the compliments, the bell rang. It was just about time to go home, so Alicia got up to leave. He thanks her for her advice, and even helping him pick some sweets, and is told to let her know how it turns out. After all, if he doesn't make up with Gizel, then her apology and thank you won't be complete. He stood in the crowd, unmoving and slowly grasping what her words meant. In the academy the next day, a delicious scent wafted across the halls. In a certain common room, a bunch of students gathered over a delivery of sweets and pastries. Gizel is curious at first, but is told that it's from Cross, and even has a letter addressed to her. She destroyed the delivery bag, along with the food and the table, and was shaking with anger at the boy who dared to continuously mock her. The others are warned against eating the snacks. The jobless boy made her lose face as the leader of the orphans. With her reputation on the line, she vows to crush him completely. Moving on from the outburst, one boy reports that he's done preparing and has already put a few quests on hold. Prey in the West has been thinning out lately, and it might be because of a monster causing trouble. Hearing this, she gets the idea of having the jobless rookie get half killed by an unforeseen accident with the monster.